In 2013, at a press conference in Espoo, Finland, Nokia's CEO stood before the world's media to announce the company was selling its phone business to Microsoft. As the cameras flashed, he reportedly broke down, and through tears, he said something no one in that room would ever forget. "We didn't do anything wrong, but somehow, we lost." How does a company that controlled half the world's smartphone market, a company that put a phone in nearly every pocket on Earth, lose everything? This is that story, and it's more terrifying than you think. Because Nokia didn't die from stupidity. It died from confidence. The story begins in 1865. Not in a tech lab, not in Silicon Valley, but beside a river in southern Finland. A mining engineer named Fredrik Idestam built a small paper mill near the Nokianvirta River. The company he founded would take the name of the nearby town, Nokia. For over 100 years, Nokia made everything except phones, rubber boots, electrical cables, gas masks, even toilet paper. It was a survivor, a company that reinvented itself again and again through wars, recessions, and the collapse of empires. But in 1992, everything changed. A man named Jorma Ollila became CEO. Finland was in crisis. The Soviet Union had just collapsed. Finnish trade was devastated. Nokia was bleeding money across too many industries. Ollila made a decision that everyone around him thought was insane. He sold off nearly everything, the rubber, the cables, the paper, and bet the entire company on one thing: mobile phones. At the time, mobile phones were bricks, expensive, ugly, used by almost no one. But Ollila saw what others couldn't. He believed that one day, every human being on Earth would carry a phone, and he was right. By the late 1990s, Nokia had become unstoppable. The Nokia 3310 became more than a phone. It became a cultural icon, durable enough to survive being dropped off buildings, simple enough for your grandmother to use, personal enough, with its changeable covers and its legendary game, Snake, to feel like yours. Nokia understood something no other tech company grasped at the time. People didn't just want a device. They wanted identity. By 2007, Nokia held 49.4% of the global smartphone market. Nearly 1 out of every 2 smartphones sold on the planet had one name on the back. Nokia employed over 110,000 people. In Finland alone, the company accounted for almost 4% of the entire nation's GDP. Nokia wasn't just a company. It was Finland's heartbeat. And inside Nokia's gleaming headquarters in Espoo, nobody believed it could ever stop. That was the problem. January 9th, 2007, San Francisco. Steve Jobs walked onto a stage wearing his black turtleneck and held up a small glass rectangle. "Today, Apple is going to reinvent the phone." The audience erupted. Inside Nokia, the reaction was very different. Engineers tested the iPhone internally. They pulled it apart, measured everything, and they concluded it was inferior. The camera was worse. It couldn't send MMS. The battery life was poor. No removable battery, no physical keyboard. Technically, they were right, but they were measuring the old world. Because Apple hadn't built a better phone. Apple had built a pocket computer. And Nokia couldn't see it. Nokia's smartphones ran on an operating system called Symbian, powerful but painfully complicated. Building an app for Symbian took months. The same app could be built for Apple's iOS in weeks. As developers flooded toward iPhone and then Android, Nokia's app ecosystem became a ghost town. And here is where the tragedy deepens. Nokia's own engineers knew this. They were actually building a modern operating system internally, called MeeGo. In 2011, they released a phone called the Nokia N9 running MeeGo. Critics loved it. The interface was elegant. The gesture navigation was years ahead of its time. But by then, it was already too late, because a new CEO had arrived, and he had made a different choice. His name was Stephen Elop. He was the first non-Finnish CEO in Nokia's history. He came from Microsoft. In February 2011, Elop sent an internal memo to every Nokia employee that would become one of the most famous corporate communications ever written. He called it the burning platform. There is a pertinent story about a man who was working on an oil platform in the North Sea. He woke one night from a loud explosion, which set the platform on fire. He had mere moments to react. He could stand on the platform and inevitably be consumed by the burning flames, or he could plunge 30 meters into the freezing waters below. The man standing on the burning platform was forced to make a choice. We too are standing on a burning platform, and we must decide how we are going to change our behavior. The memo leaked. It went viral. The world now knew Nokia was in crisis. And then Elop made his choice. He killed MeeGo. He abandoned Nokia's own operating system, the one its engineers believed in. And he partnered with Microsoft, adopting Windows Phone as Nokia's future. Nokia had Android prototypes ready. Engineers had built them. Samsung had already adopted Android and was exploding in market share. Nokia could have been Samsung. It chose Microsoft instead. Many in Finland felt betrayed. Some called Elop a Trojan horse, a Microsoft insider who had steered Nokia directly into Microsoft's arms. Whether that's fair or not, the result was devastating. Developers ignored Windows Phone. Consumers ignored Windows Phone. Nokia's market share collapsed, from nearly 50% to less than 3% in just 5 years. In 2014, Microsoft bought Nokia's phone division for $7.2 billion. Over 30,000 employees lost their jobs. In Finland, the shockwave was enormous. Supply chain companies folded. Engineers scattered. A nation grieved. But here is where the story takes an unexpected turn. Those displaced Nokia engineers didn't disappear. They rebuilt. Former Nokia employees went on to create Supercell, the studio behind Clash of Clans. Others joined Rovio, which gave the world Angry Birds. Dozens of Finnish startups were born from Nokia's ashes. The king had fallen, but the kingdom survived. Nokia still exists today. It builds telecommunications infrastructure, 5G networks, the invisible systems that keep our world connected. But its reign as the world's greatest phone company is over. And perhaps that's the most unsettling lesson Nokia leaves behind. You can build the best products, hire the most brilliant people, dominate your entire industry, and still lose. Not because you did anything wrong, but because you couldn't imagine a world where you weren't on top. We didn't do anything wrong, but somehow we lost. Nokia CEO, 2013.